and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Congratulations are in order. Two congratulations are in order in tonight's video because tonight's video is a two in one. I want to talk some wrestling and some college football. And there's a congratulations on both accounts. First, let's talk about some TNA Genesis that happened last night just outside of Dallas, Texas. By the way, if you come on here live tonight, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. It helps the channel out tremendously, and it takes about 2 seconds, and it's free. Good evening, Keveron. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ohio State coming up here in a few minutes. But last night at TNA Genesis, 10 matches altogether, counting the pre-show. A phenomenal show. On the pre-show, Jake something defeated Ashante Adonis, who of course is from WWE, but now we have the working contract between WWE and TNA. And then we had Frankie Kazarian beat Leon Slater. Those were the two pre-show matches, but also on the pre-show, toward the very beginning of it, we saw Ariana Grace, who of course is on NXT. And for those of you that do not know, Ariana Grace, her real name is Bianca Corelli. She is the daughter of Anthony Corelli, who is better known as Santino Marella. And of course, Santino Marella pretty much behind the scenes now, backstage runs TNA. So I'm sure you will be seeing more of Ariana Grace now that there's a working relationship between WWE and TNA. She said she gets all the credit for the working relationship between the two brands. Hey, Poopin' Rat, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here, Asian name. Thank y'all so much for checking in. Make sure, if you have not subscribed, please do so. Takes about 2 seconds, helps the channel out tremendously. Give the video a like and a thumbs up. Hey there, Desiree. Glad to have you here as well. And then on the main card, we kicked it off. I am fantastic, Desiree. Thank you for asking. Every day is a good day. In my opinion, no such thing as a bad day. There are bad moments, but not bad days. But thank you for asking, Desiree. The main card kicked off with Moose defeating Ace Austin to retain the TNA X Division Championship. And then Steve Macklin and Eric Young beat Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. Jody Threat and Danny Luna, better known as Spitfire, defeated Ash and Heather by Elegance to retain the Knockouts World Tag Team titles. Tessa Blanchard beat Jordan Grace, and that was the last match for Jordan Grace in TNA. They say she is WWE bound, but since there's a working partnership now between the two brands, you're still going to be seeing her on TNA television. I'm sure she'll just be under WWE contracts. I'm sure she'll make more money. It'll be interesting to see if down the road if her husband also comes to WWE to be with her or not. Mike Santana beat Josh Alexander in an I Quit match, and they say that Josh Alexander is about to be finishing up with TNA. PCO also recently left TNA, but that was his choice. The Hardy Boys beat the Rascals to retain the World Tag Team Championships. Masha Slamovich beat Rosemary in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match to retain the Knockouts World title. Hey there, Austin. I've been on here talking some wrestling. Then I'm going to talk some college football coming up here in a few minutes. And then my first congratulations goes out to Joe Hendry. He defeated Nick Nemeth to become the new TNA World Champion. And I tell you what, whether you like him or not, you have to admit that the Joe Hendry theme song might be the catchiest theme song I have ever heard. You might can sing it out loud, it's not a big deal, but if you turn on the TV and you hear that theme song, you will sing it for 2 or 3 days straight. It is just catchy beyond compare. I am fantastic, Austin. Thank you for asking. Every day is a good day. So we had Ariana Grace, Cora Jade, Ashante Adonis, and the tag team of Fraxium, which of course is the NXT tag team of Nathan Frazer and Axiom, all appeared on TNA Genesis last night. And they've already announced that this Thursday on TNA's weekly TV show, we're going to see Fraxium in a tag team match against the Rascals. So you're going to be seeing more and more of this going forward, and I love it because TNA is doing some good stuff. So it's going to be good to actually see them get some exposure. So congratulations to Joe Hendry for becoming the new TNA World Champion. TNA's next pay-per-view won't be until April. They don't do one every month. They don't even do one every other month. But as I said, Ariana Grace being the real-life daughter of Santino Marella, I'm sure you'll be seeing her probably on a weekly basis just about on TNA now. But on to some college football. Before I talk about the game that just finished up here about 15 minutes ago, I listened to a sports talk show that has Gerald Hodges on it every single Tuesday. And Desiree, you got to be more specific. Are you asking favorite football player, favorite baseball player, favorite basketball player, or just, my favorite in WWE? The greatest wrestler of all time is Randy Orton, so he is still my favorite. But in a couple of years, when he's too old to continue to wrestle and has to retire, my favorite will become Gunther, or as they call him on TV, Gunther. I think he's an amazing wrestler, but I'm a huge Randy Orton fan and have been since Randy Orton started many, 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 many moons ago. But back in the day, my favorite was Shawn Michaels. But Gerald Hodges was on last week, and most of you probably say, who is that? But, you know me, I am really good with remembering names. Gerald Hodges used to be a referee for the SEC crew back in the day for many, 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 many years. Austin, I do like Cody Rhodes. I've always said that I don't think he should have been world champion. I don't think he is world championship material, and I still don't think so. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He's a great talent, great wrestler, but I just don't think he's world championship material. That's just my opinion. If I ran the company, Cody Rhodes would never sniff a world title. That's not that I don't like Cody Rhodes. Just because you don't like somebody or like somebody doesn't mean you have to feel a certain way. I like Cody Rhodes as a wrestler, but I just don't think he's a world championship material. I don't think he's a ticket seller. That's just my personal opinion. And in AEW, I liked him, but AEW didn't use him right. But AEW doesn't use anybody right. It wasn't just Cody, it's anybody they have. But on to Gerald Hodges. He was on the radio last week because I like listening to his segments he does because 95% of fans of every team in America like to blame everything on the referees. Like the players don't make plays. It's all about the referee. The referees decide every game, which is a complete, total bullcrap, but that's what most fans tend to believe. And there's always been this certain percentage of fans that think that Alabama and Ohio State fans get all the calls, which is not true. But since they win, people say that. And they were talking last week about it because of the fact that Ohio State played tonight. And Ohio State, going into the game tonight, their opponents led the country in fewest penalty yards when they play Ohio State, which means the teams Ohio State is playing are getting nothing called against them. Ohio State's getting more penalties called against them than their opponents are, which happened again tonight. In tonight's game, Ohio State had 6 penalties against them, and Notre Dame only had 3 penalties against them. Hey there, Susan. Glad to have you here. That just goes to show that that's not true. But I thought it was interesting that Gerald Hodges said that he didn't know about the rules in other conferences. But, Gerald Hodges went to Tennessee. So when he was a referee, he could not officiate any game that involved Tennessee. Even though he's there to do his job and he wasn't going to show favoritism, if anybody finds out that you went to Tennessee, automatically they're going to think, oh, he favors the Vols. So he said if you went to a certain school in that conference, you could not officiate any game that involved that team. And if you had a spouse that went to any school in the conference, you could not officiate their game. If you had kids that went to a certain school and they were in the conference, you could not officiate their game. And it was just the SEC's way to show everybody that, no way, shape, or form are we showing favoritism. And everybody knows that, but you have the 5 to 10% of fans that are idiots that think that referees care who wins, even though they don't, because they don't get paid more money if a certain team wins. They get paid the same amount whether one team wins or other team wins. It don't matter. But not only that, they want to do their best job because, like tonight, if you watch that game tonight, it was an SEC officiating crew. And the reason is, since Notre Dame is an ACC team, well, obviously, an ACC crew can't officiate the game. And since Ohio State's a Big Ten team, a Big Ten crew can't officiate the game. So it comes down to the Big 12 or the SEC. I don't know if they flip a coin or if they just pick one. But needless to say, it was an SEC crew. And that was the SEC crew that got graded the best crew of the year. They don't grade you because you helped a certain team win. They grade you because you missed the fewest calls. And Desiree, I don't think I know that much, but thank you for asking. But I guess you could say the reason why I know so much, like what I'm talking about right now. And no, Austin, I do not like CM Punk. I'd rather watch grass grow than watch CM Punk. I cannot stand CM Punk. I despise CM Punk. If CM Punk retired tomorrow, I'd throw myself a sweet tea party. But Desiree, the reason why I guess I know so much is because I'm not like most fans. I don't get emotionally invested in a certain game or a certain team. I mean, I have teams that I pull for, but I don't basically lay my life on the line like some fans do. They care for their team so much. If their team loses, it ruins their whole week. I don't do that. I know it's a game. My team loses. Oh, well, life goes on. You wake up tomorrow, go to work, and continue. But so many people, they invest so much in a sport and a team that if their team loses, it ruins their week, ruins their month, ruins their year. I don't do that. I understand it's a game. Yes, I want my team to win, but if they don't, oh, well, I'm over it in a matter of about half a second. I don't care. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to pull for my team regardless. But I'm not going to let my day and my week get ruined because they lost. But I'm also level-headed. You have too many fans that don't want to admit that their team lost. every time their team loses, they want to blame the referee or blame this or blame that. Just say, hey, we got beat. And if you watch the game tonight, you have to appreciate Marcus Freeman because I think it was the first quarter, Notre Dame got called for a holding. I mean, it was a blatant, obvious holding. But 95% of coaches and 95% of fans and most players, they get called for that flag, and the first thing you see is the head coach go to the referee saying, "What are you doing? That wasn't a hold." But Marcus Freeman just walked over to the side judge and said, "What number was that?" Just so he knew which player messed up. He didn't try to question it. He didn't fuss about it. He just said what numbers he would know which player got called for the holding. Because Lou Holtz always said, coaches coach, referees ref, players play. And most fans don't want to let players play and referees ref. They want to question every single call the officiating crew makes. And it takes away from the game because you're completely, totally ignoring the game and putting every single thing in the referee's hands. And it shouldn't be that way because you're basically telling your team, it don't matter if y'all mess up. We're going to blame the refs. And you can't do that. You have to say, you know what? We messed up. And Austin, I do like AJ Styles, but I think it's time for him to retire and go to the house. But congratulations to Ohio State. They won tonight 34-23. Ohio State's first 5 possessions, they had 4 touchdowns and a field goal. And they were up 31-7, and it looked like it was going to be a complete blowout. But on their next possession, Egbuka had a huge breakaway and ran the ball down to Notre Dame's about 25-yard line, but then he fumbled, and the Irish recovered it and drove down the field and scored and went for 2 and got it and made it 31-15. With an Ohio State's next possession, they actually had to punt for the first time in the whole game. And you thought, okay, well, the Irish are finally going to come back here and do something. And then Notre Dame comes back down the field, gets a 4th and goal on the 9, and elected to kick a field goal. Now, a lot of people probably question why kick a field goal with 9:20 to go in the game when you're down by 16. But I think the reason was it's 4th and goal from the 9. You've got a better shot of making a 26-yard field goal than you do going forward on 4th and goal from the 9. I think if it's 4th and goal from the 2, they go for it. But it didn't matter because 26-yard field goal, they missed it. And Austin, he was out hurt, but he came back, and his first match back, he got hurt again. I think his body's just breaking down. When you start getting hurt in every match, your body's trying to tell you, I can't do this anymore. I'm breaking down. I'm done. But I've always liked AJ Styles. So Ohio State gets the ball back and uses up a lot of time but doesn't do anything with the ball. Well, Notre Dame gets it back and scores again and makes it 31-23. So then you're thinking, okay, that missed field goal now looms large because they make that field goal. And this game is, 31-25 or 31-26. Instead, it's 31-23. Well, Ohio State gets it back and goes down the field. And Ryan Day and Chip Kelly outsmarted Marcus Freeman. And you could tell by Marcus Freeman's face, he was like, they duped me. Because Notre Dame had used up, I believe, 2 of their timeouts. And Ohio State had been conservative and just running the ball with Will Howard. And it was 3rd and 12, I think. And Jeremiah Smith took off 50 yards downfield wide open. And Will Howard hit him. And they put the ball on the 10. And then the Buckeyes used up as much of the clock as they could and kicked the field goal and wins the game 34-23. And no, Austin, I do not have a show this week as of right now. SWA is running on Saturday. They had to cancel 2 weeks ago because of the snow in the area. I'm not for sure I'm going to be there Saturday. I hope I am, but my wife and I have something to do Saturday before the show, so I'm not positive I'll be there, but I think I will. I hope I will, but I can't say for sure. But if I do, I'll be at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia for SWA Wrestling. It's our last show before Reloaded, which comes up on the second Saturday in February, unless it snows again that day, and hopefully it won't. So Ryan Day in year number 6 gets his first national championship. Ohio State claims 7 national titles, but the record books say they have 9. But luckily for the Buckeyes, they don't claim those. And the reason why I say that is because I wouldn't either, but Alabama claims they've got 145 championships. But back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you didn't have a bowl game or a national championship game that determined who was the best team. You would just play all the bowl games, and then people would vote on who they thought the best team was. So back in those days, you could go 5-5, but if you had the most votes, you were declared the national champion. So Ohio State doesn't claim the ones they got back then because really there weren't a national championship team back then. But according to the record books, they have 9, but they claim 7. I have watched OVW some in the past, Austin, but they have 7, so I'll go with 7. But I know people hate Ryan Day because he's the coach of the Buckeyes and fans just hate the Buckeyes, and I completely understand that. I get that. But just not looking at it from a, hey, you're the Buckeyes coach, I hate you perspective, I don't see what's hateable, if that's the right word, about Ryan Day. I understand everybody hated Urban Meyer because Urban Meyer's a complete douchebag. So you had reasons to hate him. And then before that, they had Jim Tressel. Now, of course, what Jim Tressel was doing back then was illegal. If he'd done it now, it'd be perfectly legal. So I understand hating Jim Tressel. But Ryan Day doesn't say silly stuff. He doesn't do silly stuff. He doesn't get caught doing silly stuff off the field. So I'm not really sure where the Ryan Day hate comes from, unless it's just the fact that he's coaching the Buckeyes and people hate the Buckeyes, so they hate Ryan Day because he's their coach. But outside of that, he seems like a pretty nice guy and a pretty stand-up guy to me. That's just my personal opinion. But if you follow the channel, you know that back in September, I said the best team in America was Ohio State. So I saw this coming, and I'd have to go back and find the video, but I think I even said in the video that it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ohio State won the national championship. And if I had to pick a national champion, I'd pick Ohio State, and that was back in like week 2 of the season. To me, it was blatantly obvious. They had the best roster in America as far as the starting lineup. Now, Georgia had the best roster, top to bottom, 1 through 105, counting the backups, but just counting the starting lineup, Ohio State was the best team in America, and it wasn't close. So anybody that thinks Ryan Day is getting fired, it ain't happening. Now, years ago, losing to Michigan was a big deal. And to the old school football fans, it's still a big deal, and I understand that. I get that. But the one thing that's changed over time is, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, you didn't have all these bowl games. You didn't have playoff games. So a lot of times, when you lost to your rival, that was your last game of the season. So if you lost to your rival, you had to sit back and think about it and worry about it and have it go through your mind daily for 365 days. Well, now with bowl games and playoff games, if you lose to your rival and you're in the playoffs, you forget about losing to your rival the very next day. It doesn't matter. I had a friend of mine that when Dabo Swinney took the head coaching job at Clemson, he lost to South Carolina, those 4 or 5 times in a row. And my friend tried to tell me that Dabo's getting fired. And I said, they're not firing Dabo. He's doing too much to fire the guy because he's losing to South Carolina. And sure enough, they didn't. But a long time ago, they may have done that. But when you suffer through the Tommy West days and Tommy Bowden days, and you see Dabo come along and all of a sudden you're winning 10 games a year, yeah, you're losing to your rival, but you're doing stuff you ain't done in 30 years. So you're not going to fire the guy that's helping you accomplish things you ain't done in 30 years because he can't beat his rival. That's not going to happen. But the thing that's always made Ohio State so successful is Ohio State seems to always find the right coach. I mean, you look at teams like Florida. You know, Florida's had so much success with Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, but you look at the coaches outside of those, like a Jim McElwain or Will Muschamp or Ron Zook, and you look at Tennessee, all the success they had under Philip Fulmer, and now they're finally getting good again under Josh Heupel. But look at all the coaches between Fulmer and Heupel. You look at Nebraska. I think Nebraska finally found the right coach with Matt Rule, but Nebraska has sucked ever since Tom Osborne retired. And look at how many coaches they've had between Tom Osborne and Matt Rule. So even these programs that have success like Florida and Nebraska, to name a few, you know, they have years like Alabama, another example. Alabama back in the day was the best team in America. But then when Jackie Sherrill retired, between Jackie Sherrill and Nick Saban, Bama was awful because they could not find the right coach. But you look at Ohio State, I couldn't tell you the last time Ohio State fired a coach that was awful. Now, back in the 90s, they had John Robinson, and they finally ran John Robinson off because the fans didn't like him. But if you look at his record, he won. He didn't win a national championship, but he won. And then Urban Meyer got ran off because of off-the-field issues. But every single coach they hire, they just continue to find the right hire. It's like somehow, some way, they know which coach is going to be successful at Ohio State. So they go from one successful coach to another great coach, and they never miss a beat. And that's why they continue to be a top 5 team year in, year out. When you've got top 5, top 10 talent every year, and you have great coaches every year, no, you're not going to win the national title every year. Of course not, but you're going to be good every year, and they are. But all these other schools, when they lose a coach, whether it's by retiring or, you know, moving on, moving up, whatever, they always have trouble finding the next coach. Ohio State's next coach will be just as good or better than the last coach. And I don't know how they do that, but they've done that all my life. I don't ever recall a time where Ohio State was bad. Now, the one year, if you want to count Luke Fickell's year, I don't, because he was an interim coach. He was never going to be the head coach, but they were 6-6. But outside of that, I don't ever remember seeing a time where the season came around, I thought, man, Ohio State's going to have a down year. It just don't happen. They're good every single year. So congratulations to Joe Hendry, the new TNA World Champion. Hopefully everybody now believes in Joe Hendry. And congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes for being the 2024-2025 college football national champions. It's their 7th title they claim. They've got 9 according to the college football polls of all time. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Appreciate all of you for chiming in tonight on the live video, but you can always chime in later on. You can always, anytime, click on any video that I've posted and leave a comment, and I try my best to always respond to everybody. Thanks for all the likes, thumbs up. Hopefully, if you're here tonight and you have not subscribed, you subscribed tonight. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Even if a bear wears shoes and socks, he will still have bare feet. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.